Hey everybody, welcome to the Logan Power Show. It's me, your host, Calvin Logan, and we are here to acknowledge you all for watching us, to the ones who have been constantly donating to our show, the ones who have constantly keep subscribing to our YouTube channel, follow us on LinkedIn, you follow us on Instagram, Twitter. Hey, please continue on doing that. We've been doing this now going our 7th year. 7 years means that we are moving forward. We've ended our cycle. We're completing on new projects and we're doing forward. I know the month of March is Women's Month, and we want to acknowledge women, not only that I believe that are trailblazers, but these are women that we'll bring onto the Logan Power Show that have a sense of urgency. They want to make a difference and such a huge impact. Well, I got with me a first-time guest here in the Logan Power Show. Not only she has her own business, but she's a 23-year veteran here. So I want to give our first time here at the Logan Power Show, the one and only, the CEO and founder of Nprogress Consulting, LLC, the one and only Miss Toya Moore. How you doing, ma'am?
Good morning. I love that one and only. You right. I am the one and only. Good morning, y'all.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So we want to first, we want to salute you. 23 years in the military, United States Air Force or any branch of service, and definitely shout out to our veterans. Also, we want to salute you because 23 years, that's not a small token of time. That is a lifetime. So I want to give my hat to my kudos and salute you. Being E7 Master Sergeant, being in that long, I tell people right now, I said military will, you think like the world's, you see the world's revolving, a lot of chaos. I said, man, the military been going through a lot, and especially when it comes to social injustice, gender bias, racial bias. There's so many things that the world is just seeing, I guess, in the forefront. We say, oh, that's past time. I said, man, the military has been dealing with that for centuries, and it's nothing like it hasn't started new. So I want to start off first there. You know, we always got to ask the question, like, why the military? And then why did you stay in so long? Because a lot of times when people say, well, you always hear this all the time, the military is not built for African Americans. Like, you know, like why? It's not for us, you know, it's not our way. But I believe this, since I'm a veteran myself, people paved the way. And there are some who have paved the way. People like you have paved the way, people like myself. So tell us about your journey when you got started and you said like, hey, I'm gonna join this military, and I've been in 23 years. Let's talk about that journey first.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because I joined in 1993, okay, a whole lifetime ago, long time ago. And when I joined, there was a lot of Black people who frowned upon that because of that kind of sentiment that it's not for Black people. But my thing is y'all gonna pay for my college? Like, is y'all gonna give me a job? What is, you know, I was at a place, I was 18, and I knew I wanted to go to college. I had decent grades. I probably could have gotten a scholarship, but I also knew that I was going to go to a HBCU, and the first cute guy who winked at me, you know, that'd have been over. I'd have been pregnant before I got off the bus, child. Like, I knew me well enough to know that I could not go into the military. I just wasn't mature and responsible enough. And I knew I needed more structure. So I decided to join the military to get the benefits, the educational benefits, and to give myself some hands-on job training, some structure to get away from Chesapeake, Virginia, and kind of travel the world. And it's probably one of the best decisions that I made. Now, that's why I joined. The reason why I stayed is because I met a boy, I fell in love, I had some babies, and I kept putting off my decision to get a degree, you know, trying to figure out what I really wanted to be when I grew up. And the next thing you know, 8 years went by, 10 years went by. Once you hit the 12-year point, in my opinion, once you hit 12 years, you over the hump. You might as well go ahead and stay, right? So I stayed because I focused on my family first. I focused on, I have two children. My oldest is in college. My baby is in the 10th grade. And I'm no longer married, but that was my focus in my 20s and my 30s. I did get it together though. I did finish my degree, got a couple of certifications, really focused on being in a career field that would benefit me while I was in, and that would be I thought a good transition when I got out. So that's how I ended up, and then, I wanted to retire before 23 years, but I got divorced and my credit was jacked up and I was a whole mess and a half. So I stayed in those last 4 years to get back to my true self, to get to who I needed to be, and to make sure I was showing up a whole part of myself for my children and for, myself moving into the world.
Absolutely. And then people that are listening to us right now, I don't want the stigma to be like, the military breaks up marriages, nothing like that. From a person who is married and a person who a person who is married and a person like, like again, Miss Moore being divorced. I understand this, a great mother, a woman of God who basically decided, hey, I'm still going to stick in because I still got to take me. I believe this in relationships, you still got to be whole. You still got to keep yourself together.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks volumes because I don't want people got to understand this. In 1993, this is telling my age, I was approaching graduating from elementary school and going into 7th grade. So like for myself, let's think about it. During that time, it was during the Clinton years. Everybody knows from, the Clinton years, Bill Clinton had just became president of the United States. Let's understand in 1993, we didn't have a lot of wartime from that particular era. Like if you were in the military, you weren't getting deployed every 6 months, every 7 months, things like that. So let's be truthful. You making that kind of choice was not considered to be the ideal situation, but I believe that the choice that you made, I think it speaks volumes because, camis back then in the 90s are totally different when they transitioned in 2000 and went to camouflage. People don't understand like camis got to be pressed. You had the black boots.
You don't even know. If I wish I had a picture of me back then, boy, you talk about a sharp crease, them boots would shine. I'm talking hocking and spitting and, them things, which I could literally stand my pants up beside y'all, folks don't know nothing about that. And, to get to your point about the military breaking up families, the military didn't break up my family. My family broke up my family. The person I was married to and I were married. I was married for 17 years, by the way. So most of my military career was married, but we were just not able to grow together as a couple. And fortunately for me, the military gave me the foundation I needed when I started my journey, the foundation I needed throughout the marriage and all of my PCSs, and the foundation I needed to kind of rebuild my life after my marriage ended.
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing, like it speaks to your faith and your fortitude to keep moving. Sometimes when you've been married that long, some people fall apart. Some people say like, hey, I've been with that person like majority of my younger, vibrant years, and now I got to start all over. And now I got a military career where I've built a foundation. I set a standard. This is my last name, and now I got to change my name. And then people's like, well, why you change your name? Like, what's going on? Like, what's in your life? And I know a lot of times you do need that brother and sisterhood to sort of build you, keep you together. So what was your MOS? What was your job in the military?
Well, I started as the personnelist. So I was the person that helped you kind of get in process to the base, helped you with your assignments, help you with any kind of administrative things that you needed. And then about 6.5 years in, I retrained or cross-trained into the mental health field. So my last 17 years or so, I did I was a drug and alcohol counselor, an enlisted drug and alcohol counselor. I was a mental health technician. So that's what I did for the end of my career.
Absolutely. And that another speaks another volume. Now, I want to let people know, like the Air Force didn't start, like people like the Air Force started in 1775. No, they did not. Like 1955, the Air Force started. And so,
not in 1770. Who said that? Who said that?
You know how some people be like, they talk about branches of service. They say, oh yeah, this started. I said, listen, no. See, the Air Force is
No.
different. You have the Army, the Marine Corps, the Navy. That's 1770, but Air Force is different. And like for those who don't know, I've always said this: the Air Force, boy, living life is good. I'll tell you right now, best basis you can have for living a good life. The conditions that you're given, if you're given bad conditions, definitely they're going to accommodate you. So those are some things I can give kudos to the Air Force is, like I tell people all the time. But opportunities, I believe, are there for any branch of service. I'm not knocking any branch. Trust me, again, I'm not biased. So like she did the Air Force, I did the Marine Corps 8 years and Air Force for 5. So I did both branches. So hey, I know the Air Force is the truth, the Marine Corps the truth. So for all my brothers and sisters out here, hey, I'm with you in the fight. But we got to talk about this. It's something that people don't discuss. You ended as a master sergeant, 23 years. Now there are some things that people don't talk about, is that there are certain people, like the hierarchy of ranking. They say, well, man, the person been in 23 years. That person has been an E9 by now. But people don't know that there is a fight to get from that E7, that E8, E9. That thing is like a whole nother arena of challenges. So
Yeah.
when you get to be a master sergeant, especially in African American as a female, what were some of the challenges you faced in trying to get promoted? I know a lot of times promotion are sometimes, I'm not saying that you weren't a smart person, but sometimes people try to hold you back from getting to that next level. So what was your push to say, you know what, I ain't gonna let nobody stop me from getting here, and when it's all said and done, I'm gonna be here in authority?
I think, the push for me is I got kind of an attitude and I don't listen. So I didn't like people telling me what to do, to be completely honest. Like I just didn't like people telling me what to do. And as when I was younger, I was very brash and like, who are you to be the boss of me? Like I know I didn't know anything, by the way, but I was like, I know so much more than you. Let me go ahead and study and get promoted. So up until E6, I studied really hard. I worked really hard. I wanted to prove that I was a good airman and I was a good, worker, so that I could be in charge. And I wanted to be the boss, and that's something that carries to this day. I like being the boss, which is why I got my own business. But when I got to E7 though, I had a really difficult time getting promoted, mostly because my career field was so small. I think by the time I left, there was only 700 mental health technicians Air Force wide, which means that top, 5, 3, 2% of promotions, it just didn't come easy. And, I remember the year that I made the decision to go ahead and call it quits. I just knew I got promoted. Like I had a uniform. I still have a uniform in my closet with a E8 rank on it, because I just knew I got promoted. Like I was like, I didn't put the years in. I did all the work. I checked all the boxes. My experience wasn't other people holding me back. Even when I had other people who I felt like were against me or kind of out to get me, I also had a very good group of support, a good support system. And, you can talk all you want. I'm good at my job. So no matter what you say about my personality, I was always good at my job. But, it wasn't meant. And I honestly believe it was the Most High that prevented me from continuing my journey in the military, because that's not where I was meant. It served me when it needed to serve me, right? It served me when I needed the foundation and the structure, but it wasn't meant for me to stay in for 30 years. It probably wasn't meant for me to stay in 23 years, but I rode that thing out till the wheels fell off. But for me, I didn't really have as much difficulty with other people preventing me getting promoted. It was my inability to meet the standards of the career field at that time, because it was so small. And there's a lot of fantastic people at the top, right? So everybody's vying for that top one. So you got 17 other people who are just as good or better than you, trying to get those 2 or 3 positions. time and time again, you're going to get knocked down. So my experience in the military is probably very different than most, in that I don't feel like people tried to hold me down. I really feel like it wasn't my journey to continue on and to get to that higher rank.
Absolutely. And the reason why I always try to get people's perspective, I think sometimes some people got a bias of the military. They say like, well, this is how it is. And I'm like, well, everybody's journey is different.
Yeah.
I've literally seen people say, well, my fault in life, my fault in the military was it's not a skill issue, it's a will issue. Then
You better say it. That's true.
Then I've seen people that it wasn't my will, it wasn't my skill, it was just others that try to stop me from getting to where I was. Then you have situations to where it could have been culturally biased, it could have been gender biased, because let's be truthful. I've always said this: if you did like an actual survey or a data analysis of the military, you said, okay, from 1775 to now, okay, how many people were not were from a minority, African American, Latino, Asian, Native American, just those 4 groups were in the military of a higher rank.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Even to this day, and to be honest, you also have to look at the specialty. I think in the Air Force, we call it the AFSC. Some folks call it MOS, whatever your specialty is. When I first joined, I was in a civil engineering unit, right? I was personnel, but they put me in a civil engineering unit, and that unit had 2 black people, 2 black women. So of course they called me her and her me the whole time I was there, because of course we both looked alike. And there were maybe 4 or 5 women in the whole unit, and I'm talking like 300, mostly white guys, right? And that's where I experienced the most sexism, racism in that unit, because we used to call them dirt boys. These were the guys that drove the big trucks. These were the guys that would go out to the middle of a field, and then, a day later you have a whole tent city popped up. But in 93, we didn't have pop-up tents. Like in 93, we went out with a hammer and some nails and some plywood, and you built that thing from the ground up. So most of the challenges I had were with those guys. And those were my formative years. Those were the years that made me the most determined to show you that I'm a good worker. And I'll tell you this story right quick. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I'll tell you this story right quick. I was maybe 19 years old. First time away from home. I weighed maybe 119 pounds soaking wet. These dudes, so we went out, to Tent City, which was just a big open field, and they started building the tent, and they were like, hey, Briggs, my name was Briggs at the time. Hey, Briggs, we need you to climb to the top of this structure and pull the tarp over. Now, first of all, I'm 119 pounds. I'm scared of heights, and you know how heavy those daggone tarps were. Right? Because, after they built it, we had to put the tarp on before so I get up there, and I wasn't going to say no, because I told you I got an attitude and I don't like people telling me what to do. When I tell you, and they knew I couldn't do it, but what they were doing, and I didn't know this at the time, is they were testing me to see if I was going to break, to see if I was going to cry, to see if I was going to ask for help. And I was like, bump y'all, I'm going to do this. I was probably up there. And most people who know me know this story. I was probably up there for like 2 hours, I think, trying to get the tarp to come up, because it's so heavy. It takes 5 or 6 big burly dudes to get it over. And here I am, this Latina little thing. And that was that's what caused them to respect me, because they saw I wasn't going to quit. I didn't cry. I didn't ask for help. I just was up there pushing and pulling and bracing myself and trying not to fall. And, and it was definitely a safety hazard. They probably would have gotten in a whole lot of trouble had the first sergeant and somebody been out there. And they just stood down there. And then probably an hour and 45 minutes, almost 2 hours into it, another NCO, I was an airman at the time, an NCO was like, go help her, go get this. And it ended up being done. But I could tell a difference in the way they treated me after that. So once I realized that, okay, all I got to do is work hard, say some bad words, and do what I'm supposed to do, and people gonna respect me, I can do that. That's growing up. That's my life.
I think that speaks volumes for yourself. I think a lot of times people don't get it. There is a gender bias,
Oh yeah,
and you
yeah,
there is a. I tell people right now, I say you want to see the military is like, I hate to say it, it's like the United States Senate. How many people are African American, Latino? How diverse is that group? House of Representatives. How many women are there? How many people that look like African Americans, Latinos, Native Americans, Hispanics? Who's in the group? Like
yeah,
it's a group. It's nothing. I tell you right now, if we got to be honest with ourselves. We got a lot of growing up to do. Don't make it sound like we've arrived. We are here this time. This is the first. This is the first. That's a
yeah.
problem. We've been in this game too long. We should be way past this first. We should talk about second, fourth, 10th. It should be just a normal thing. Hey, Toya Moore is the new general of the United States Air Force. Not like she's the first African American. She the first woman. She the first
Yeah.
this. You like, my God, how long you been in the game this long? It's the first time you actually seen the people for who they are and what they do. But let's talk about the Nprogress Consulting
Yeah.
LLC.
Yeah, so I started my business, Nprogress Consulting. I actually started it when I was in the military back in 2008. So I'm what you would call like a serial entrepreneur. Like I've been starting and stopping businesses probably most of my life. So I started like most people with a side hustle. You know, I started with small business coaching, and I realized pretty early on that kind of wasn't my thing. Mostly because I didn't want to get bogged down with the administrivia. But again, you know, the business and the military, everything was just kind of overwhelming to the point that I started and stopped my business several times. When I retired, though, I really wanted to expand and grow and try full-time entrepreneurship. I didn't have a good transition out of the military, so it took me a while to get my footing. It took me, and I didn't know how to live within my means because, you know, you a 20-some year E7, I was making a little bit of money. So then I came out, and then my retirement check hit, and I was like, "Ooh, I can't live off that. There's a certain standard of living that I have that I'm not able to maintain." So because I wasn't really familiar with civilian life, because I don't live near a base, there's no base here. I'm a civilian. I'm 100% civilian. I had to reacclimate to that environment. So it took a couple of years. I've been retired for 5 years, and it really took me getting laid off from my full-time job that I got to really go deeper into the work that I'm doing. So what Nprogress Consulting does now is I provide coaching and consulting services for small businesses, nonprofits, and community leaders, helping them understand the bridge between wellness and social justice. Okay, so it's important that you know that your personal and professional development is directly related to healing, wellness, but most importantly, personal and professional development is a direct link to social justice and the social justice work that we have to do in the community in order for us as a Black community, as underrepresented populations, whether it's females, whether it's Black people, whether it's veterans, for us to be able to get to whatever our next level is.
Absolutely. Now, I know that mental health, that is something that is really not talked about. I know a lot of times we sort of deter, not talk about these conversations that people are going through a lot, especially during the pandemic. I think it's really exposed the necessarily need for getting that type of help. People are not reaching out. People are afraid to say, like, you know, hey, I need help. This is my personal belief. I believe you need spiritual counseling and you need actual therapy, the therapist. I think you need both, and
Right.
because you've been through a lot. So based off, because this is what you love to do, because you started sort of this journey of helping people, going from the personnelist, the person that's always doing the data analysis, putting things in, and now you did that for 17 years in the military, sort of helping those. How is that transition been for you? Like, do you feel like you found your calling? Like I'm in a web of where I can really connect, entwine these people to a better you when speaking to you.
Yeah. I actually think that my work in the military, so the personnel part really helps me with administrivia, right? Even though I don't like it, I can do it. The mental health piece, it really helps me understand human behavior, how people think and work. A difference then in the Black community, because in the Black community, we don't talk about counseling, at least not when I was growing up. And then, I don't know if you know this, but I've been teaching yoga and doing wellness coaching and things like that for quite some years. So the place that I'm at now is really a good kind of mixture of all of that. So I can take, my experience as a Black person, I can take my experience as a military person, my experience as a mental health technician, my experience as a yoga teacher and a wellness coach, as a career and business coach. I can put all that together and create something that's going to give back to the community. I think it's just really important for me to be able to use my talents, and I call them my magic, my Black girl magic, sprinkle my magic where it's most needed. And right now I see it most needed in the Black community, and an underserved community. So not just the Black community, there's a lot of rural areas in where I live. So when the pandemic hit, there were a lot of those areas, whether it was out in the country, as we like to say, or in the hood. Both of those demographics were hit the hardest. They didn't have food for the children. They didn't have access to internet and computers. They didn't have. So I feel like it's important for me, with all of my skills and talents, to bring in professionals, to bring in resources, and to go to where the people need it the most. Not just, to talk a good game, because a lot of us talk a good game, but are you in these streets really in front of the people? That's part of the reason why my business is partnered with the local nonprofit, to provide career readiness to justice-involved youth. So I'm fortunate enough that this year I was contracted by Upstate Circle of Friends, a very prominent local nonprofit, to provide career readiness services. So again, everything that I've done comes to this. I did career coaching when I was working at Goodwill for veterans. That's what I did until last year. I'm doing the same thing. It's just for at-risk youth. And these are kids who've been incarcerated or have been involved in law enforcement somehow, and giving them the tools and resources to, change their lives.
Absolutely. Now, how can a person, like, say, for instance, they see you, was it like a consultation, figure out like what you need, and then they go through a certain process, a certain strategy when they come to you for help?
It depends on what it is they're coming for. So the people that get referred through the Department of Juvenile Justice, my goal is to get them high school diploma, GED, training, and employment. That's my whole goal for them. If somebody comes to me who's transitioning out of the military, then my job is to figure out, okay, how can we deprogram you from your military mindset so that you can be a functioning member of society and provide you with the resources that are available. And then, there's the wellness side of it, because there's some people who are just in need of kind of that spiritual, emotional wellness type guidance. So what I do is I always offer a free consultation outside of the social justice work. If it's the veterans, or, most of the time busy moms or busy women who come and talk to me about what's going on with them, I do a free consultation, and then we just kind of figure out, what is it that you need? We partner to figure out how I can help you get to the best you that you need to be. So I offer spiritual essentials. I offer free yoga for veterans. I offer individual yoga and wellness sessions for folks. It really depends on what it is that they need and how they feel like I can be of service to them.
Beautiful. Now, final thought, like I said, someone who's watching here said they need assistance, so on and so forth. Say they want to start their own business, because sometimes people need to be inspired. Yep. A lot of times during last year in the pandemic, I know a lot of people's faith is sort of diminished. People have not really been in tune to keep moving it forward. It feels like for certain folks, since last year, it feels like the whole world has fell upon them, and they feel cinder block after cinder block has sort of just kept them from moving forward. So I want to give you this time, a couple minutes, to talk about why they need you. What is it you want to get out to be accomplished? And what can we do to make a better place, in your personal opinion? The floor is yours.
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I don't necessarily think people need me specifically. I think people just need support and encouragement. So for every me, There's 1,000 other sisters and brothers out there who are into spirituality, wellness work, career development, personal, professional development. I would say I would encourage these folks to think about what is it that you really need. So as an individual, am I stressed? Am I angry? Am I frustrated? Am I sad? Am I depressed? Am I stuck in my job? Am I stuck in a marriage that I don't want to be in? Am I, how am I contributing to what's going on with me? And then I want to encourage people to remember that you have agency and control over whatever happens to you. So if I decide in this moment, this is BS, I don't want to feel like this anymore, I'm going to do everything I need to do to seek out the support that I need. That might be pastoral or spiritual counseling, mental health counseling, exercise, a nutrition coach, any kind of wellness coaching, business coaching. That's the personal and professional development piece. I also think it's really important that we shift our mentality. It's important for us to not walk around feeling like we are a victim of 2020, feeling like we are a victim of the previous presidency or a victim of our military service or our relationships or whatever. I contributed to how I show up in the world because of the way I think and the way I speak and the way I behave. So I would encourage people, one, I do want y'all to sign up for what I do. Now, don't get it twisted. I need you to go to my Facebook page, Nprogress Consulting, LLC for the career readiness, or Wellness OM the go for the wellness and enrichment pieces. Or you can just, inbox me or whatever if you have any questions. But I do think it's important that we decide to take control back of who we are, how we are, even if that's 5 minutes, without the children, without the husband or the wife, I'm just going to take some time to myself. Take control and power back for who you are and how you are, and walk in your greatness. We are the original people. We are kings and queens and gods and goddesses walking on earth. So we need to inhabit that mentality and that demeanor, and walk as such. Walk in your power. Sprinkle your magic, And I think my final thought would be, I kind of say this whenever I finish teaching a yoga class or whenever I finish up some of the things that I do, is it's important for us to start our days thinking good thoughts, saying good words, and doing good things. If you kind of live by that mantra, think good thoughts, say good words, do good things, it's almost impossible to let outside influences keep you down and make you feel any kind of way. So if I can depart any words, it would be, remember to think good thoughts, say good words, and do good things.
Amen. Amen. So those that are listening, again, Miss Toya Moore for Nprogress Consulting LLC. She gave you the information that's going to be available to you as well. I know throughout this interview, we got the information available to you. How to email her, get in contact with her. Listen, get the help that you need. Don't ever think that you're not in the fight by yourself. Understand this. If you are, you got to get positive. Positive will outride the negative. Let's reverse that energy. Let's reverse how we're doing things. Get rid of things that shouldn't be in your life. If it's people who basically are trying to bring you down, hey, the best thing you can do is pray for and move on from them. Because my thing about it is, the Bible says that God will make your enemies your footstools. So understand this: He'll prepare a table in the presence of your enemies. So my thing about it is, keep striving, keep your faith strong, and let's keep it moving forward. Hey, that's all the time I got. My name is Calvin the Logan Power Show, nationwide, worldwide. We love you. We'll see you soon. All right.